This took place a few months ago, but I still don't know what it was. I'm too scared to go back to my houses, so I'm renting a place on Airbnb. I've been trying to understand what happened ever since, but I still have no answers. Here's some backgrounds. So I moved into a new house, and right across the street is an abandoned manor. I know it sounds glitch, but that's what made me want to get the house. I've always been interested in abandoned places, especially ones with creepy stories. For example, this manor was owned by the same family for years, but in the 1900s, all the last family members living there mysteriously disappeared at the same time, and it's been abandoned ever since. I thought that was pretty cool at first. Everything was fine, and I was really enjoying my new place. But then I got curious about the abandoned manor. It felt like I had to check it out, so I managed to get inside, and right away the vibe felt wrong. Can't explain it, but something was off. It felt like someone was watching me as I went back to my house with my heart racing for no reason. I've never really believed in supernatural stuff, so this was a bit strangeful. I think that's when things started to change. Whenever I walked home late at night, I felt like someone was still watching me from the manor across the street. Then soon after that, I started hearing sounds in my house late night while I was in my bedroom, especially in the kitchen and living room. I didn't think much about it because I'd always heard these sounds when I was about to fall asleep. You know, when you're just about to sleep and you hear things in the background, but it almost feels like it's part of your dream. Well, it was always like that, so I could never be sure if I actually heard something or if it was in my dream. But why would I dream about dishes being moved or someone walking around my home? Now fast forward to last night. I was sleeping in the living room because my bedroom gets really hot during the summer, so I grabbed my blankets and slept on the floor something I've always enjoyed doing since I was a kid. I got everything ready, turned off the TV and all the lights in the house. When I turned off the light in the living room, I got every uneasy feelings. So I hid under my blankets and start scrolling through funny videos until the feeling went away. Yeah, I know it sounds silly. I instantly felt safe under the blankets. So I put my headphones in my ears, but I didn't plug them into my phone yet because I was still looking for something to watch. I got distracted scrolling through Instagram and looking at funny memes. Then I heard a voice in the corner of the living room, and I froze. I couldn't move or do anything. I was too scared to even make a sound. I heard something say, "There's one thing you don't seem to understand." Then another voice said the same sentence, but the words overlapped, and I couldn't make out the rest because they were talking at the same time. It started with one voice, then two, then three, and soon until it became confusing. The whole time my body was frozen in shock. I didn't know how to respond. I can't even remember exactly what I was thinking. Then suddenly all the voices stopped. All at once a few hours passed and I was still frozen in the same position. My body felt so uneasy that I wanted to move my leg or do something, but I was still too scared to even do that. Just as I was gathering courage to move, the voices started again. It began with one voice, then two voices at the same time, and soon they were saying, "There's one thing you don't seem to understand." Now I wished I could hear more, but with so many voices speaking at once, it was hard to understand this time. I wasn't going to miss it. I carefully moved my fingers to the closest app I could use to record. I started recording the videos so I could listen back and see if the voices were real or if I was imagining things. After I finished recording, I thought that my recorder automatically played back the videos, so when the video played out loud, my heart stopped. Because whatever was in the corner of my living room now knew I had recorded it as soon as it played back. I quickly plugged in the headphones and all the voices stopped at once. But at least I have recording now, so I can confirm I'm not Razy even thought that just made it worse because now I know something is really there. Another hour passes. And I'm terrified, by the way. I still want to move my leg as several hours have passed at this point. It's really hot under the blankets now and it's the middle of summer. So I'm sweating a lot, but I won't dare to peek out from under the blankets because I'm scared of what might be out there. Things start calming down again. And I decide to watch something funny just to make it through the night until morning. The next time I opened my eyes, it was morning. It told everyone about this weird incident. But as you already knew, no one believed me. They all thought I was just imagining things or dreaming now. I can't stop thinking about what happened. And I'm too scared to stay in that house. I think I need to move to a new place or I will lose my mind. I can't even remember exactly what I was thinking. Then suddenly all the voices stopped. All at once a few hours passed and I was still frozen in the same position. My body felt so uneasy that I wanted to move my leg or do something, but I was still too scared to even do that. Just as I was gathering courage to move, the voices started again. It began with one voice, then two voices at the same time, and soon they were saying, "There's one thing you don't seem to understand." Now I wished I could hear more, but with so many voices speaking at once, it was hard to understand this time. I wasn't going to miss it. I carefully moved my fingers to the closest app I could use to record. I started recording the videos, so I could listen back and see if the voices were real or if I was imagining things. After I finished recording, I thought that my recorder automatically played back the videos, so when the video played out loud, my heart stopped, because whatever was in the corner of my living room now knew I had recorded it as soon as it played back. I quickly plugged in the headphones and all the voices stopped at once. But at least I have recording now, so I can confirm I'm not. Razy even thought that just made it worse because now I know something is really there. Another hour passes. And I'm terrified, by the way. I still want to move my leg as several hours have passed at this point. It's really hot under the blankets now and it's the middle of summer, so I'm sweating a lot. But I won't dare to peek out from under the blankets because I'm scared of what might be out there. Things start calming down again, and I decide to watch something funny just to make it through the night until morning. The next time I opened my eyes, it was morning. It told everyone about this weird incident. But as you already knew, no one believed me. They all thought I was just imagining things or dreaming now. I can't stop thinking about what happened. And I'm too scared to stay in that house. I think I need to move to a new place or I will lose my mind. I was surprised and confused because I knew one of the men. He usually cleaned all the Airbnbs and paths during the day, so it didn't make sense for him to be there at 3 a.m. The other guy asked if the wooden block was ours, claiming they found it outside our Airbnb. I knew something was fishy because there was no good reason for them to be there at 3 a.m. I called out to my friends and the three men quickly ran off. I explained the situation to my friends and we stayed up all night just in case they tried anything else. In the following morning, we decided to report the Airbnb reception about their employee, but the description I gave didn't match theirs. They told me their housekeeping staff were only women in their late 30s and 40s. We were scared when we realized we had let a total stranger into our rooms while we were away. But thankfully nothing valuable was taken and we got out of the situation safely. I can't imagine what would have happened if I hadn't woken up that night with the doors almost being open. You want to share this story to warn people. It's not really scary, just strange, but at time, it truly freaked me out. So I'm traveling around the country in my car. I've been driving for over a week from my hometown. And I've been sleeping in my car to save money. It wasn't until I reached a big city that I decided to treat myself to a nice bed. So I chose Airbnb as it's cheaper than hotels. I booked it the day before I arrived in the city. And there weren't really many options left. I found an apartment on Airbnb that looked new and modern. It was in a great location. And the price was also very good, but the only downside was that it was a new listing with no reviews. So I thought the price was low because it was new and decided to try it. When I got to the apartment building, it looked older than I expected. Then I later realized that my room was probably the only renovated apartment in the building, which seemed to be in poor condition. It looked more like a dorm than an apartment building anyway. I let it go because I wasn't paying much. Though I didn't expect a lot, the apartment itself looked like the pictures, so that was good enough. Everything went well for the first 2 days. I saw a woman traveling alone. I always make sure to stay safe. I don't go out after dark and always lock the door using every lock, including the chain on the third day. I was out all morning and came back to the apartment to change before going to the beach. I locked the door again, including the chain, while I was in front of the door watching TV, and changing the door suddenly unlocked and someone opened it. I am very lucky that I had put the chain lock on the door, or it would have opened all the way. My first reaction was to say excuse me, and I quickly closed the door and locked it again. I didn't see who was trying to open it because I came from the back of the door. I realized that this person could still get in since they had the keys to the apartment. Then I thought maybe it was the owner coming back after I checked out, but I wasn't supposed to check out until the next days, so that wasn't possible. So I calmed down and called the owner, explained what had happened. She said only she and I should have keys and she was at work, so it couldn't have been her. Now, I was scared to stay in the apartment because someone could easily come in, but on the other end, I didn't want to leave because all my valuables were there. It was a loose situation for me. I called my dad and he said it wasn't okay for someone else to have keys. She spoke to the owner, who promised to come with a locksmith to change the locks and give me new keys soon. She explained that she had owned the apartment for only 6 months, and that before my stay there had been only one other Airbnb booking, then Shields. Said the apartment had been empty except for those 2 bookings because she was renovating it. That explained why the building looked bad and didn't match the NIS apartment. She suggested that the person with the keys might be the previous owners or someone connected to them. How could it happen that I was gone all day every day, and the only time someone tried to come in was when I was home for just 10 minutes during the daytime? But what were they trying to do by coming in? Maybe this happened before, or maybe they saw him arrive and wanted to do something bad. These questions keep bothering me, but I feel incredibly lucky that I used the chain lock on the door. I don't even want to think about what could have happened. I definitely won't be leaving a good review. And I won't stay in an Airbnb without reviews, or that seems too good to be true in the future. So before I tell the story, you should know a few little things. My bedroom is downstairs, and I live with my parents, one sister, and one housemaid now. Normally, I always lock my door when I'm in my room because it makes me feel safer. And the key is always in the lock on the inside of the door. I never take the key out of the lock as I don't have a spare keys, so I never lock the door from the outside. Then a few days ago, my housemaid saw me in the living room upstairs and asked if I could unlock my bedroom so she could clean. I laughed and told her it wasn't locked. She said she was sure it was locked. Acid tried opening it several times, thinking it was stuck. Since she knew I was upstairs, she got scared and thought someone had come in. As my sister was upstairs with me and my parents weren't home, besides they would never go into my room and lock it. I went downstairs and opened the door right away. It wasn't locked or stuck. I've lived in this house for over 10 years and my door works perfectly. I never had any problems with it, like it doesn't creak or get stuck, so tried to see if the door was stuck, but it wasn't. I closed and opened it gently, roughly, and in every way possible, and it always opened normally. I brushed it off and told the housemaid it was probably just stuck that one time. But she insisted it wasn't stuck and said felt exactly like a locked door because she pushed really hard and it wouldn't open. I didn't really believe her and didn't think much about it. The next day, my sister forgot their straightener in my room. She kept knocking and trying to open the door, so she called the housemaid and they both tried pushing really hard. But it wouldn't open. When I got home, I saw them trying to open my door. Elufin thought they were playing a prank on her. My sister was really angry and asked why I locked my bedroom. I told her I hadn't, and when I went to open it, it opened right away. They both looked at me like they had seen it. I didn't believe them, and thought they were definitely joking with me, even though I thought they don't usually do things like that. Then yesterday, the same thing happened again. My dad called me and said he received an online order. A maid had tried to put it in my room, but found it locked, so he left it outside since I wasn't home. That's when I began to get really worried. Asked him. I thought the door was stuck, but he said it wasn't. It was clearly locked. The window was bars on the outside and is always locked, so no one could get in that way. It's impossible for someone to lock it from the outside, because the key is always attached to my door from the inside, and there's no spare key. I'm really confused and scared. There's some unknown entity stopping others from entering the room. On June 26th, my boyfriend and his best friend, along with his girlfriend, and I drove up to Big Bear. The next day, another friend joined us on June 27th, but he was supposed to sleep downstairs while the couples leapt upstairs, as there are only 2 bedrooms. It was kind of creepy, because the cabin was very remote, and there were no lights outside. It was in the woods with coyotes howling and bears around. Everything was normal, but on the night of the 27th, around 12 a.m., when my boyfriend and I were in bed, our friend, who was sleeping downstairs, started banging on the door, freaking out. He said he had been sleeping downstairs when he heard what sounded like someone walking outside. When he got up and looked out the small window, we saw a big man trying to open the front door at first. Thought that was just joking and trying to scare us. But my boyfriend took it seriously. He got out of bed, glanced around the entire cabin, and even went outside. We went up to the other couple's room, which has a porch with a sliding glass door that looks out to the woods. Now it's important to note that I am naturally very anxious and scared, while my boyfriend is very logical. I tend to imagine the worst, but he'll always stay calm. So when my boyfriend went over to look around the last place in the cabin and pulled the curtain, he suddenly jumped and yelled, "Oh my God, no!" As a CrossFit coach, and seeing a big guy like him scared makes me feel sick. He locked the door and backed away slowly. He quietly said, "There's a large man standing outside staring. Tushy's just standing in the woods looking at us." Everyone was freaking out. Iran unlocked the door behind you, and Will decided to stay in the room and keep watch. It was the middle of summer and very hot. We refused to open a window. I was really scared, but tried not to show it. About 30 minutes passed, but nothing happened. So I got annoyed with the heat and the fact that there were 5 people crammed in a room with 3 of them being men, so my boyfriend and I went back to our room, but I was still pretty scared. So my boyfriend tried to cheer me up. It was around 1:30 a.m. By then I told him I was too scared to sleep with the lights off. He tells me okay, and he understands, so just lay there with the lights on. Finally I start drifting off to sleep, when I hear a thud as I stoop and look at my boyfriend, who looks back at me, and the power cuts out. Immediately start crying. I try to get out of bed and run, but my legs get tangled in the sheets, and I fall. My boyfriend picks me up, and we grab our phones and run to the other room where everyone else was staying. I'm really upset at this point. I try to contact our host, but nothing works. I try to call my dad, but all our phones say no services. Oh, we were completely isolated out there, but luckily the friend who arrived later had a different phone carrier, and his phone had 1 bar of signal. Hadn't was any time, and called the local sheriff. Now looking back, it might have been an overreaction, but at the time we were really scared. He talks to the sheriff, and they transfer us to the utilities company. We give them the address, and they tell us that we're too deep in the woods, and they didn't cover that area. However, they said to calm down and they would contact the fire department tour. Just when the fire department came and investigate the whole area, they found out someone had cut our cabin spout from outside. And not only that, but they also discovered that someone had tried to forcefully open our cabin door but didn't succeed. We were fortunate that nothing bad happened to us. But even now when I think about that night, I wonder what might have happened if our friend hadn't called the local sheriff's department. things might have taken a disturbing turn.